Yo, this is Aaron of Kong, and I want to talk to you about accountability. Okay, internet. What's the definition of honesty?
Here's the definition of honesty. Free of deceit, truthful and sincere.
How do I know that to be true? The internet's never been wrong before. During the creation of this podcast, I've come to realize that if you're going to really communicate with people, you have to be honest. Without honesty, everything's a waste of time. Sometimes the most difficult thing of all is to be true with oneself. Each episode has opened up the thirst for more conversation about real shit and not only becoming accountable, but staying accountable. The first big life untruth I remember was to my school friends at the age of 15. I lied about losing my virginity. Keeping up the charade until it finally happened for real a year later was excruciating. I wish I had an audio recording of the things I made up and the details I fabricated. The truth can be uncomfortable, but I believe in the long run, honesty is easier than lies of any size. Do you have those people in your life that when you're around, you're just refreshed about how honest they can be? I sat down to talk with old friend Fabienne Holloway. She's an immense singer and an ultra-powerful performer. Right now, she's making incredible work with her joint musical project, Radiant Children, who you have to see live and listen to their records and tell me if you can tell the difference. We discussed honest internal dialogue, uncomfortable art, and the artist's state of mind. Plus, she introduces us to some of her more than familiar creative demons. I love that you got notes.
Well, you know.
No.
I just want to be prepared.
Yeah. Boom. I'm here with my good friend Fabienne, and
Hi, sweet pal.
Hiya, you're right.
Yeah.
We're going to chop it up about accountability, as we know on this podcast, and talk about some themes of honesty. But you know, I'm not really worried about a theme with this one because we are versed in just talking copious amounts of breeze.
We can go. We can. I would raise you to a strong gale.
Strong gale. Chopping up a whirlwind. It's so nice to be talking to you and having a chance to extrapolate.
Oh, come on.
You know what I'm saying? Dropping them word bombs.
Come on now.
I say that because we talk about wonderful subjects together a lot, but we've also done a lot of work together.
Yeah, without realizing, I think we were tricked into it being work because a lot of times it's just felt like a fun, creative game.
Yeah, like we've made a music video together.
Oh my
and
goodness.
We've podcasted in the past.
Yeah.
And
Performed.
Yeah. And all those things just feel like hanging out. They don't really feel like work in the past. So,
well, I think I'm realizing more and more now that when it doesn't, all those times where it doesn't feel like work, when you weren't quite fully aware of what you were making at the time.
Yeah.
That's the feeling to tap into because that's really when you're more of a vessel to what can be rather than like, okay, this is the goal, this is what we're making, these are the rules. So I'm always really grateful when I have friends where it's just like turn up and whether you realize it then or if it's like a few months down the line, you've made something really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so nice to do this as like an open forum or platform to just chatting about accountability for me. And I think while I've picked honesty as like a kind of like a sub-theme for this episode, I feel like that's a big part of accountability because it's about acknowledging things and being real with yourself and that's kind of where my thinking on accountability is at the moment. But like, when you hear that word, what does it mean for you?
I know for sure that the meaning of accountability has changed for me, because, okay, I'm someone who naturally puts a lot of pressure on myself. And I used to get very triggered by the word accountability, because I think we hear it a lot in arguments. You need to take accountability for this.
Yes.
Or we hear it so much in a certain spiky way that I started to associate taking accountability with being wrong.
Right.
Being, I need to own up for my mistakes. And yeah, there was just something really unnurturing and not kind. And I don't know, I heard it in this way that oftentimes I wouldn't find it very helpful.
Yeah.
And now, what accountability means to me now is actually taking a deeper look.
Yeah.
And whether that means carving out space and time for yourself to look deeper under the layers of why we're making certain decisions, why we're stuck in certain patterns, or even going just deep enough to realize that you are stuck in a pattern.
Yeah.
But for me, accountability is that being able to take a look and stare at it, whatever it is, and be kind, give yourself all the love and the space in the world to pull those tools in and take what you need to change.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's empathy's the way through for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I agree with you where in the past the word accountability has been a little bit anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, what, are we going to court? What's happening?
Yeah.
You know, I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Hopefully a way of brightening and lighting the word of accountability is going to be through practices of creativity, and you're a very creative person. And I wondered if, in terms of accountability and honesty, do you recognize work out there or artists that are creating very honest and true work?
It's so subjective, isn't it? Because also something, you might not like what they're saying.
Yeah.
But you still feel a sense of like, this is their truth. This is what they feel. I am really lucky in that I work with a lot of creatives and that really are able to plug into that honest space. Obviously my bandmates, Marco, Tyler, like frequent collaborators, Fred Cox.
Yeah.
Our Jack Nichols Marcy, another producer, that when I see them work, there's everything in that room. There's tears, there's anger, there's frustration, there's joy, there's rage. And when you're letting all of those things come up throughout your creative process, it's, you know that, it's the real shit. It's the reason you can't really sleep at night. And I don't know, it can be unhealthy in some other ways because you're just really pushing yourself there every session. But no, I'm so lucky to work with those guys because they are, and they leave me a lot of space, to be honest, as well, because some of the stuff I want to say in my music is not happy. Like, it's kind of not comfortable to sit and listen to, you know?
Yeah.
But then there's a photographer right now that I love, Helen, like good friend of mine, Helen. I think her Instagram is like Hell Hath No Furby or something, if you want to check her out. And she takes portraits, film, photos of really candid, intimate moments, really, really transparent.
Yeah.
I love her work. Chris Albo, film director, who works on really sort of character-based, morality-based. I don't know, I'm like, searching all the corners of my mind for people that just make me feel, because a lot of the stuff that makes me feel uncomfortable, also, I'm like, damn, that's just honest. Like, I can't even watch it because it's making me realize like all the shit I hate about myself. And I'm also grateful for all that.
Yeah. I think your heart reacts and you go, oh, actually, I needed to hear this person express this about themselves. And you can key into little bits of how it relates to you. And I just think it's so important.
It's everything. It's the reason we do what we do. And I think it's so easy to forget. I forgot. I got to a point where like, I've been making music and performing and recording since I was like 15 years old. And if I'm honest with you, somewhere along the line, I think some of the reasons I was making music was because I wanted to be accepted. And I wanted to feel validated. And I remember asking myself, would you still be doing this if no one was watching? And if so, what would you say?
Yeah.
And that's when it started happening.
Yeah.
That's when actually I started what I wanted to say controlled the narrative. It wasn't like all the other shit that you can't control.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Super scary.
Yeah.
But that's what they say, is that it's like the thing that you're most scared to write that.
Yeah. I mean, you perfectly answered the thing I was going to ask you next. Like, I was going to say, like, this podcast is helping me to learn about what's important to me and how to communicate it and how to tell my truth. And like listening to your lyrics and watching you perform, I'm talking about watching you perform for a long time, building up to like where you're at now. It's some of the most honest experience that I've ever had. And being a part of the crowd and the energy of the performance, it really feels like something special and unique. And
thank you.
The way you communicate that is just, I really appreciate watching someone be able to tell their truth on stage. And I was going to ask, like, have you had to work at that, or does it just flow out?
It doesn't.
But you
flow.
said,
but it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing because I feel so comfortable singing. It's like breathing air.
Right.
But for some reason, a huge fear of mine was the gaps in between the songs where it's now time to just be human. And before Radiant Children, as like my sort of vessel to do that, I don't know. I just used to crumble and put on this weird like cabaret, like, hey guys, it's me, Fabienne Holloway. And it was just the weirdest thing. I don't know. I just thought this is a waste.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also didn't know how, because I hadn't dropped that. I wasn't able to even look at the mirror at myself and face like, girl, you're going through some shit. So I was still wanting to escape in this other character.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I got a lot from performing, but I just used to think there's another level of connection here. And one of our last shows in London, you were there.
Yeah.
And I was particularly nervous at speaking in between, to the point where I'd written myself a little script.
Right.
Of like little bullet points and things I could say about each tune. And it happens every time where I have this script and then when I get up there to say it, I'm like, no, fuck this. And from that point, I have no idea what's going to come out my mouth. It's terrifying. But my priority shifts in that moment and I no longer care about it being entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm now like, no, this is what I need to make this space comfortable for me. And in turn, I think that's what people feel empowered by. Because they see the journey of it being a bit sticky and clunky and me starting this script and then realizing like, hold on, that's not what this is for.
Yeah.
But I still struggle though. I do. Like some shows I'm just like, I don't know. It's very vulnerable. It's a super vulnerable place to be, and I'm still getting used to loving myself in that vulnerable state.
Yeah, keying into that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's hard. I think it's an everyday practice for sure. Like just even when people say to me now, like, "Oh, hey, how are you?"
Yeah.
And I really try and take a minute because I hate just saying, yeah, fine. Because a lot of times I'm not fine, you know, and I just want to try and wherever I can practice that art of being real.
Practice is the magic word on this podcast. Like, ouch, elbow. Ouch. Yeah, practice is the magic word here. And
practice, not perfection.
Practice, not perfection. And I mean, I've not recorded these episodes chronologically, but on one of the last episodes, I say in my introduction that I used to think that I was like a really great conversationalist. And then I realized that there was a problem that I needed to address when certain people would ask me, "How are you?" And it would frustrate me. And it took me a long time to realize that, because I just thought it was just a bait question.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you asking me this?
Yeah,
but
try harder.
But what I didn't realize was the people that I would get most frustrated at were people that were really close to me, people that I really loved. And that's when I realized that I was stunted in terms of not knowing how to express how I was feeling. That was the real problem. So trying to learn new ways of communication and actually talking about those subjects and talking about those things that were difficult allowed me to then go, okay, the problem's not over there, the problem's here. And now I feel like when that question comes, more able to go, actually, been a bit of a shit day. Or, actually, I don't know how I'm feeling, but let's discuss it.
Right, which is usually it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, because when people throw the "how are you doing?"
What you been up to?
You realise I haven't asked myself that question.
Yeah.
I have no idea. From the moment I opened my eyes this morning, I haven't worked that through. But I tell you what, when you are really, really candid with that answer, your interactions change. Yeah. People that I've met for the very first time that say, "How are you?" And I'm like, awful, actually. Yeah. Have become really, even if they're not like everyday friends, like the interactions we have are very real, because that was the starting point. And sometimes that's too much to face, because you kind of want the fine, the throwaway, let's not go there. Yeah. But too much of that, I think, is a trap. Too much of that not thinking and just going along with what will make the other person feel comfortable and not freaked out. Yeah. Or make you think, or, you know, I used to just worry about what people thought so much, though. Yeah. It was my worst, and still is, like, my worst fear is people seeing me for how I actually am, which is strange because I also feel really empowered by it.
Do you recognize any other, like, on this podcast, talking about things that block me in terms of, I'm referring to them as demons. Do you find any other specific demons that kind of block your creative process?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a few. Yeah. There's a few, and they come on different days. Yeah. And sometimes we have a laugh together, and I'm like, I see you, demon. I see you. I see exactly what you're trying to do, and I'm going to embrace you and try. And that can work. But no, the ones that get me are pressure. Pressure. Expectations.
Yeah.
I would say like I'm an anxious person, but not, I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? We're in a time where our mental health we're finding this new vocabulary for all these things.
Yes.
So sometimes I find myself saying, I've got anxiety. I'm like, dude, is that it? Like, 'cause it's not, I actually feel kind of sad, but then like I'm running really fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I run into traps where a lot of times my sensitivities, which I do like, that's my superpower. Like,
yes.
For sure. Like being able to feel everything at such a heightened level, that can manifest into really just overwhelm.
Yeah, overwhelm.
And yeah.
You're so right as well that we need to embrace them. I've always been thinking about fighting the demons and I'm embracing them and leaning into them, actually, because they're there. We see them as demons.
They need love.
They need love.
They're the shadowy parts of ourselves that we hate.
Yeah.
And light when you bring those things into the light, it dissipates. All that darkness, all that demonic energy, like it dissipates.
Yeah.
You keep, the darkness feeds it, I think. So yeah, for me, those parts of myself that I hated and didn't want anyone to know about, like the fact that most times I'm actually pretty shook and nervous. I did so much trying to, or even seeing that as a demon, I realized was the wrong thing, because that's just, it's neither good nor bad. It's just a part of me that needs a bit of love. But I tell you, one thing that I really enjoy doing is naming my demons.
Yes.
I think that gives it a humor. Bro, I had one called Gary.
Gary.
I had a demon called Gary who was my boss, and he had the worst BO. He would like sweat over me.
Yeah.
Like when he was bringing me files, he would just be the worst guy. And when I was feeling particularly strong to take on Gary, this demon, I would imagine myself just, every time he would dump files on my desk, I would just burn them. Yeah. And in the end, like, I think when I finally say goodbye to Gary, it ends with me like burning the building.
Fabienne versus Gary.
Yes.
You know what's mad?
Go on.
Episode 1 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Talking to our mutual friend Dario.
Yes.
He has 2 demons, Larry and Barry.
No.
Yeah.
Not Larry, Barry,
He's
now
got
Gary.
Larry, Barry and Gary. Where are these people coming from? And why do they all rhyme?
And with such sweet names.
Yes.
They don't sound like demon names. Like, what is that?
They're very Joe Everyman.
But maybe that's the thing, because that's the way they slide in.
Yeah.
Like seeming like they're your best friend.
They were called Lucius or Crispin or...
Crispin
or Malfoy or Matilda. You'd be like, oh, that's an interesting name. I'm suspicious of you.
Dark energy.
But
nah, it's always the sweet ones that just, like the what is it? The wolf in sheep's clothing that just acts like, hey, I'm a mindset that's going to help you throughout life and protect you. Oh, wait a minute, bitch. Now you're on your face. And you can't get up out of bed for a week.
Level 2, let's go.
Yeah. But I wrote a lot of stuff. Like, I wrote a lot of music, though, when I was at my most, like, defeated by my demons. Yeah. And I would call that working with them. Just listening to what they're saying and putting it down. Yeah. Kind of takes the power away and gives it back to you.
They're here to kind of keep you vulnerable and humble at the same time.
Yeah. It's character building.
Yeah. Oh. Thanks for introducing your demons to the podcast.
No, of course. My nana's trying to get me to call one of them Percy.
Percy?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think I've let her in like a lot with this, but yeah.
Which one shall I ask you first? Have you had to think about the time capsule? If we were going to dig up the ground outside now and take a little time capsule and put something in there to be discovered in 500 or 1,000 years by anyone, what would you place in there? And it can be an item, it can be any kind of entity.
Strands of my hair in a Victorian locket. No, I'm joking. That's the creepiest.
In a heart-shaped locket, sealed with wax and spells.
That's, I mean, but along with the locket, I think we're all, whether we know it or not, we're all working on our artifacts, right? Like for you, it's your recordings, like your, wherever it is that we feel like we've told the most of our story, I think is what should be in the capsule. So for me, at this point, it would be all my music, all my thoughts, all my demos, all my voice notes. That's my way of being, here forever.
Yeah. That's why we record.
Right.
That's why we take account of where we're at, what we're feeling, and that's how when I see music as my time capsule, like my proof of where I was, what I was thinking, what I was feeling in the planet at this time. Yeah.
And I'd love to expand it as well and like think of what else can I put in my time capsule? Because I've been concentrating on this medium for a while now with music, but that's what I feel really proud of.
Yeah. So talking about expanding it or broadening the direction of your creativity, like, do you have any ideas or anything that you want to like achieve in the near future or move towards?
Yeah, I was really, if you would have asked me this question last year, I would have ran out of the building crying, don't ask me my 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Definitely. I mean, ask a 5-year plan is a horrible question. I hate it. It's been known to get me to flip tables in restaurants. Yeah. So this is
sorry, Dave, that's my manager. He asked me that question, and sometimes it brings out the worst in me.
Never again.
Yeah, but I'm really interested in. I love that with music I can create this safe space for myself, and that was really my intention. Just figuring out what do I need to grow. And what do I need to just feel okay with who I am? And the more I'm exploring that, I get so inspired by other humans that are going through the same shit and manage to get themselves up out of bed, to find the people, to find their tribe, and to find, this. Just seek for more and look for the people that wanna inspire them to do that. And I'm really looking to create more spaces, not just in music, but within community, where we can. This sounds like the most cheesy thing ever, but I just want to heal together, because self-care is, well, the clue's in the name. It's just such a personal journey, isn't it? Like self-healing, self-love. Like, where's the spaces where we can connect and do that? Because that's really where the magic happens. So anything I can do to be a part of that and open up those little worlds is what I'm interested in.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. I hope that we can have this conversation again in a year or in 5 years.
Oh, man.
This is part of our 5-year plan.
I will be out of the country. I will be gone. No, that's kind of, maybe.
Yeah. Thank you for talking with me, first of all. And also thank you for just being a friend that I can talk to on a real honest level, and helping today for the sake of the podcast and just for conversation in general to really get into honesty and accountability, so that it's easier for us to do in the future between ourselves and between the people that we love and between strangers as well.
Yeah.
And also with people that are on the other end of the spectrum that are maybe not enemies, but people that we don't necessarily agree with, and open up conversations where we can debate and clash and hopefully find common ground through truth and honesty and respect. So yeah, I appreciate you so much.
Well said. Appreciate you, friend. Thank you for having me. I really enjoy this.
Yes.
I think it's really important what you're doing also. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely safe. I live for conversations like that where you don't hold back. It's an honour to be able to record and share personal dialogue, and I hope you can relate to some of the topics that we discussed. I was moved by Fabienne's ever-changing relationship with accountability and inspired by hearing her ability to lean into her demons and embrace them. I'm going to have to give that a go. What she said about using accountability to align with your internal compass and growing into your own skin, well, I'm going to add that soundbite to the very end of this episode. Please go and have a listen to Radiant Children on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and all of that. It will change your year. I've thrown a couple of their songs into the Accountability Podcast playlist on Spotify. So how are you? Like, honestly, have you really thought about that recently? And next time someone asks you, are you going to tell them the real answer or save it for later? No right or wrong answer there. I'm doing good, thanks. Excited about the next episode where I sit down with my mentor and talk about accountability within the community. Thank you to Danny McIntyre Loveridge for live guitar, Stoney Browder Jr. for original theme music, additional music by Aaron of Kong and Lorne of Kong, Fabienne Holloway for joining me in conversation, thanks to Chris Unwin for production support and Lorne Ashley for mixing support, and Adam Buxton for inspiration. This episode was recorded using Shure SM7B microphones through a UA Arrow interface and constructed in Ableton 10 Live Intro. If you'd like to link up on socials about the podcast and any other projects, then you can find me on Instagram at Aaron of Kong. I'd love to know how it's going with that project. Laters.
If I'm honest with you, somewhere along the line, I think some of the reasons I was making music was because I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to feel validated. And I remember asking myself, would you still be doing this if no one was watching? And if so, what would you say? And that's when it started happening. That's when actually I started what I wanted to say controlled the narrative. It wasn't like all the other shit that you can't control. And it was terrifying. Super scary. But that's what they say, is that it's like the thing that you're most scared to write that.